back to another episode of Super Bytes with Suhani Singhal. One concept which I really want to highlight in this series is that there isn't one single path which someone can take to be successful in computer science. There's so many different courses, activities, and fields which you can go into and major in, yet you can still be successful. That's why I'm here today to interview Ingrid Lin. First, she was a mechanical engineer, and now she's a product marketing manager at Google. Ingrid grew up in Australia, and ever since she was young, she was interested in how things worked. She completed her bachelor's degree and master's in mechanical engineering from Northwestern University. After she graduated, she went on to pursue a variety of jobs, initially working in mechanical engineering at Carbon Design Group and Microsoft. About 5 years ago, she transitioned to work at Google as a mechanical engineer and then a product marketing manager, where she has worked on multiple projects relating to the Pixel C folio keyboard, USB-C accessories, and Google Fiber. Currently, she is serving as a product marketing manager. Today, I'm sitting down with Ingrid to learn more about her journey and her successes in computer science. Thank you so much for sitting down with me today, Ingrid. I'm really excited to learn more about your journey and what got you to where you are today.
Yeah, I'm really excited to be here.
So I would like to start by exploring your childhood and your life in school just a little bit, because our audience is predominantly filled with middle and high school girls. So what were your interests or your passions at an early age?
Very far away from what I'm doing now. I was very interested in art. So I did a ton of painting, and I went to art classes, I did horse riding, just kind of all sorts of things, but not very STEM focused.
So what was like that defining moment which got you interested in STEM from art?
So I think I realized once I entered high school that there was a lot more that you could do with math than just the stuff that they teach in primary school. So. And that's also when you start learning about science in the different, with it broken out, so physics and chemistry and biology separately. And so I think that's when I realized there's a lot more to it than just what they teach you in primary school.
So it sounds like you took quite a few STEM classes in high school itself. Did you see that there were more boys and girls in your classes?
So I actually went to an all-girls school.
Oh, okay.
So it was 100% girls, which I actually think helped because I didn't do very well when I first started doing physics. And I think if I'd been in an environment where there were a lot of boys, I might have been put off by it. But because everybody there, we were kind of all learning at the same time, and the teacher was very supportive, I was able to kind of pull my grades up and actually really start to understand what it was all about.
I know you mentioned that being in an all-girls school kind of helped you build confidence, but do you think that it also might have helped in the workforce because now you kind of have that confidence in yourself and you can do it?
I think so. I mean, I think if I hadn't gone to the all-girls school, I'm not sure I would have chosen engineering as my major in college. So I think that kind of led to me believing that I could be an engineer, and then throughout university, I was able to have great mentors who kind of showed me that anything's possible. So.
And you mentioned that you had a lot of mentors and role models in college. So who was your role model, and what advice did they give you that you still use to this day?
I think so. We were assigned faculty advisors. Mine was Professor Colgate, and he was just very supportive. It was never officially a mentorship, but I definitely looked to him to kind of give me guidance on things that I was deciding on. He also was the one who started the manufacturing and design engineering program that I was in as well. So he knew product design really well and was able to kind of guide me that way. I also had other mentors, one of who actually helped me find my first job out of school.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So she introduced me to Carbon Design Group, which is where I first started working.
Yeah, role models and mentors are really important, I think, because they kind of help you with whatever challenges you have. They give you really good advice as well.
Yeah.
So, like you kind of mentioned, college. So I noticed that you majored in mechanical engineering at Northwestern, and I know you mentioned that your high school is all girls, but obviously Northwestern isn't all girls. So how was that transition like?
It was interesting. Yeah, I guess I was expecting obviously the gender balance to shift, and so I knew that going in. I think it took me a little while to kind of figure out how to work with that, but I ended up, like I said, finding great mentors and also finding great peers and friends who are also doing mechanical engineering we all kind of supported each other to get through school.
And were your STEM classes or your engineering classes like 50-50 gender ratio wise, or?
I think we graduated with maybe like 20% women in our mechanical engineering class. In a lot of the other classes, I mean, it was definitely heavily male skewed.
Mm-hmm. How was that experience like?
I think it really depends on. I think you have to be more proactive as a woman going into these fields because you are going to be outnumbered, and so you have to be proactive in finding the right group of friends and finding the right group of peers to kind of help each other out.
Right.
So I think it's really up to you to kind of make that experience.
That's actually really good advice because I think even in like high school and now in the engineering classes and in the computer science classes, you do see more boys than girls, but kind of finding that tight-knit group of friends and those people who are going to bring you up and support you is really important.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
And I also noticed that you did your master's in mechanical engineering as well as your bachelor's. So what was it like having a master's degree? Do you think that it gave you some sort of incremental value? Did it have some sort of incremental value in your job, or?
Yeah, I think for me it solidified kind of the type of mechanical engineering that I wanted to do. So I think 4 years isn't very much time when you're in school because so much of that is spent on kind of like the general classes, and so the classes that you take for your specific major, I found it wasn't enough for me to decide what type of mechanical engineering I wanted to do. So for me, the master's degree really helped kind of solidify that product design was where I wanted to go, and it kind of gave me more confidence that I could be a product designer.
I see. So since you were first a mechanical engineer in Carbon Design Group and then Microsoft, what was the transition like to being a product manager?
It was kind of to me, it felt like it was like the inevitable next step, and so because I understood kind of from a mechanical engineering perspective, the product design cycle, it kind of made sense for me to kind of step into the product manager role. And I think having the background definitely helped me make that transition.
So it looks like at Google you've worked in the product field a lot, from product design engineering to product managing to product market managing. But for those who don't really know what that is, could you tell us a little bit about what you do on a daily basis and what your role is at Google?
Yeah, so product design engineering is essentially mechanical engineering. So you're designing kind of the actual bits and pieces that go together to make a piece of hardware. Product management, that's kind of that's looking at what features make up a product, and so you have to kind of advocate for the product that you want to build, and you have to get the resources that you want and kind of convince others that this is the right product to build. Right now I'm a product marketing manager, and what I do is I take the product then and I'm the one who communicates it to the end consumer. So I talk to the product managers, understand what the best features are, and then figure out how to communicate that to the end user. And so a lot of my time is spent, we do a lot of user research, we do a lot of cross-functional work to make sure that everybody's on the same page about what is this product that we're marketing, and then figuring out the best way to get that line of communication to the customer.
I see. So do you do any physical coding, or is it more of understanding what the product, what's used behind the product?
Yeah. So I've never really done any coding. I obviously did in school, but mechanical engineering, that was basically done. It's called it's CAD, so computer aided design. It's not really coding. As a product marketer and as a product manager, you don't really do coding. You can do some basic SQL stuff in order to pull data from databases, but I wouldn't really call that coding.
So what skills, I guess, do you need then to be a product marketing manager?
I think it's, so communication is a big one. And I think as an engineer, like that's a skill that a lot of people think isn't all that important. But when you're when you become the advocate for your product, I feel like it's so much more important that you can kind of communicate like why you're making a product the way you are. And it helps you it helps you define what the product is and gets other people excited about your product as well.
And I think, like you said, communication is definitely really important. But for those girls who are interested in doing the coding aspect, technology is always changing and is really fast-paced.
Yeah.
So what advice would you give them for staying up with the recent concepts or coding? Is there any courses that you'd recommend or any classes that they take?
So yeah, education, I think like continuous education is really important. I'm lucky enough at Google, we've got a great education system and they reimburse you for certain courses and things.
Oh, wow.
And so I always make sure that, you know, whether I'm taking a course specific to my role or if I'm just taking a course that I think, you know, sounds interesting and is maybe only tangentially related, I think it's all like really important to kind of keep up with that.
Right.
Yeah, and I think also like keeping up with like industry news is really important. So I'm on a lot of listservs to get like, you know, emails about like, you know, what's happening in the industry.
Right. And I know you mentioned that at Google they have the education system, which looks like a really nice benefit. But what are some of the other perks or benefits of working at Google or even at Microsoft?
So at Google you get free food, which is the best perk because you don't really have to think about it. And I think that's why they do it. So you go to work, you don't have to think about like, you know, did I pack lunch or anything like that. You can just get food. And it's also a great incentive because you can go and eat with your coworkers and you don't have to worry about like, you know, who's paying for what. And it's a great way to bond with other people in the organization.
Right, that's really good convenience. Like
Yes.
you said, it's like you can work efficiently,
Yep.
don't have to worry about anything, and you kind of want to come to work almost, right?
Right. No, there are definitely days where I'm like, I don't want to go to work, but then I think I don't have any food in the house, and so I should just go to work anyway.
So what do you think is a key challenge which women are facing today in technology and computer science? And how do you think that we can help solve that problem?
That's a great question. I think, so there's kind of two things, right? One is a pipeline problem, which I think a lot of people are focused on, and obviously the pipeline's growing due to people like you. I think the other one is retention, so how do you keep people who are already in the system, I guess like, how do you keep people who are already in the system engaged and want to stay in the system? I think that's a much harder problem. I'm not sure how to solve that. I think there are obviously a lot of people are working on this. I think it's finding the right company with the right culture where you can succeed despite the challenges of being kind of in an underrepresented minority.
And I think what you kind of really hit upon is kind of that retention, making sure that even if girls do get interested in it, that they actually want to pursue it as a career. And I know we talked a little bit about it before, about mentors and advisors. You had mentioned at Northwestern you had one. But what advice would you give to girls who don't really have female mentors or just mentors in general, and how do you think that they can find one?
Yeah, I think, again, I think it's about being proactive. It's going to be very, very hard if you just sit there and kind of wait for a mentor to come by. I think, and obviously you shouldn't focus on only getting a mentor. So just learning more about like the field you're interested in. Generally that way you'll find other people who are also interested in the same thing. And that's probably the easiest way to kind of build that connection.
Yeah, that's really good advice. I agree with that, and I think a lot of girls are going to take that to heart as well. Now we're going to play the game called BulletBytes. So I have a bowl of fun questions that you can pick and just learn about yourself a little bit more.
Okay. What animal best represents you and why? Oh. I'm going to say a cat. Because I think cats generally, they take like a little while to like get to know people, but then once they get to know you, they're generally pretty friendly. So I think that's a bit like me. Like I'm a little bit like unsure and I like to kind of see how things play out first, but then once I'm in it, I'm like all the way there.
That's a good answer. I think kids are really fun too. All right, 2 more.
What's your favorite cuisine or dish? I really like street food, so kind of any country, if it's like they're selling something on the street, I usually want to like taste it and see what it's all about. I think it's usually pretty simple food, but pretty delicious.
Was that always your interest, or is that something that's developed over time?
No, I've always loved traveling, and everywhere I go, I'm always like trying to taste the local foods.
All right, last question.
Name one thing on your bucket list. I haven't fully traveled Africa yet. I've only been to Tunisia, so I really want to go to kind of everything below Tunisia, essentially.
Nice. All right. Thank you so much for playing our game.
Yeah.
It was really fun to learn more about you.
Yeah. Thanks. Thanks for having me.
So lastly, I'd like to ask you, what would be your biggest piece of advice that you would give to middle and high school girls who are interested in computer science or don't know what they want to do yet?
My biggest piece of advice is to not get too bogged down into thinking that there's one career path you have to follow. There are lots of ways to get to where you want to be, and where you want to be might end up changing. So be flexible, keep learning new things, and see where that takes you.
Wow, thank you so much for your words of wisdom and coming here today. I'm sure a lot of girls are going to really like learning about your journey and seeing how you got to where you are today.
Thank you, yeah.